to tell quickly on Rick Neuheisal. We're playing in the 84 Rose Bowl, right? 84 Rose Bowl. And the night before the game, we take the team out to Westwood to have a great dinner before we're playing the #2 team in the country. And I know Rick's going to add something to this story. I know he will. But we're going to dinner, and we are an average team. We finished the regular season 6-4-1. The good news was it was 6 conference wins. We end up winning the championship. Rick had been the starting quarterback. I had demoted him. The person I put in, Steve Boner, to take his place, played great. He got hurt. Rick had to go back in. You know, one minute you love Rick, the next minute I didn't love him, then I loved him again, right? And I put him back in. And
kind of like my mom.
He took us to a championship, but we were 6-4-1. We were going to play Illinois. They were, I think, 10-1. That's right, 10-1. And they were the #2 team in the country. The night before the game, we go to the chart house. I go to the pregame meal the morning of the game, and half the team isn't there. And I say to the late Ducky Drake, I say, Ducky, where is the football team? Didn't you get them up? And he said, Coach, they're all sick. We didn't want to wake you up, but they all have food poisoning. And I said, naturally, as a head coach, I said, where's Neuheisal? He was the starting quarterback. He said, well, he's the sickest of all. And I said, you got to be kidding me. So I did what any general would do. I got the players who were real sick. I put them in the back of one bus, but Rick was violently ill. So I put him in a private car, and I got a big bucket for him to have in the back of this car. And I said, Rick, you just fill it up on the way to the stadium, but you've got to play in this game. And Rick was courageous in the back seat of that car. He was as sick as puppy as you've ever seen. We get to the stadium, they give him a little IV. He goes out in a pregame warm-up. He's as white can be. He's weak, but he goes on. He throws 4 touchdowns in the Rose Bowl game. Takes us to a 45-9. The guy ends up being the MVP in the Rose Bowl game, and he ends up in the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame. That's Rick Neuheisal.
Terry said that I would talk, and I will. I just want to say, and I'm not going to respond to that story because he made me sound way more heroic than I actually was. But I will say this. UCLA football is special. We've got a bunch of sports here. Ben Howland, I've gotten to know Ben Howland. He's as good as they come in basketball. I've gotten to know Nikki. She's going to get that program going. And I get the privilege to rub elbows now with some of the greatest coaches that Dan Guerrero talked about earlier. Just the greatest coaches that exist on the planet. Al Skates is here. I mean, we've got the best of the best. But all of us sitting on this podium right now would not be here were it not for a guy who worked his tail off. For 20 years. Actually, 20 years as a head coach, 5 years as an assistant coach, 4 years as a gutty little broom playing nose guard. And ladies and gentlemen, we don't give him the amount of appreciation or respect that he deserves, but he is the best college football coach the Pac-10 has ever known. I want to stand up and recognize Terry Donahue. One of the great thrills I have in taking over this program is the ability to kiss the ring of the guy who got us all here. And I'm telling you, I mean this as sincerely as I can say it, that's what great programs have. They have people that they look up to. Alabama talks about the Bear. At Arkansas, they talk about Frank Broyles, who on one Monday night called me Rick Heisel. Look at Rick Heisel. He keeps throwing the ball to the opposing jerseys. At SC for years, they talked about John McKay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one of the true icons in this game, And we are going to forever remember and build on this legacy because UCLA football, ladies and gentlemen, is back.